Welcome to this edition of In-Depth Alaska. I'm Olivia Nordyke. As we try to sort out what happened in that deadly collision between an American Airlines flight and a Black Hawk helicopter, I sat down with NTSB Alaska Region Chief Clint Johnson. While he couldn't speak on this investigation, we wanted to know what happens next in the process. So I was wondering if you could give me, just to start off, like an overview of the basics that we know about this collision now.
So what we know now, this flight was headed from Wichita to DCA last evening and collided on final approach into DCA runway 33.
Talk to me a little bit about, I've heard quite a bit about safety. I'm wondering if you have any information that you can give me right now about if people should be concerned. I've heard that the flights today were stopped. We've been at the airport. Mm-hmm. Should people have any reason to be worried about their own flights, or is this more of a contained issue?
Yeah, so, at this point right now, we're not going to draw any conclusions. And if we were to make changes now, obviously we'd be drawing conclusions. Way too early to do that. An investigation of this magnitude is going to take probably 18 months to 2 years to be able to finish, at best. Mm-hmm. So basically what the NTSB does is we learn from these tragic accidents like this, unfortunately, and we apply those lessons learned to keep it from happening again. So where we are as far as changes that come out of this, we don't know at this point right now. Way, way too early. I should say that unfortunately here in Alaska, we're not immune to mid-airs. We had a mid-air in 2019 in the Ketchikan area, a number of fatalities there, both Part 135 or charter flights, tour flights, and then in 2020 in Soldotna, another mid-air. So, and we learned lessons learned from that one, applied it to those areas, and that's probably exactly what the investigators will be doing in this case in DCA.
And we have an investigator from Alaska there as well, correct?
So Bryce Banning, who is the investigator in charge of this, started in our office. He was with me for 10 years. He moved to DC to join the Majors group, and as luck would have it, that he was on call during this one, so he is running it. Bryce is a very talented, has a very, very good background. He'll do a great job. In addition to that person, we do have one of our investigators here in Alaska that's headed there as we speak right now, Mark Ward. He is also a Black Hawk pilot himself, just retired from the Army Guard, and so he's going to be using those skills to help the investigation down there as well. So we have a lot of people on the ground there, obviously, and it's a small little group, so we help them out as much as we possibly can out in the regions here.
Right. And tell me where you start with an investigation like this. Is it pretty standard, or is there a procedure based on case by case?
Well, we have certain protocols. Big picture right now, what we're doing is trying to gather all that perishable evidence, whether it's witness accounts, the actual wreckage that is present, that's in the water. Very soon they're probably going to go into the wreckage recovery portion of this. But again, what we're trying to do initially is to gather that evidence that could possibly go away in a very short amount of time. There's a tremendous amount of information that they're going to be gathering, not only electronic but physical evidence throughout the next couple of days and probably the next couple of weeks. So it's a long, long process.
I've been seeing a few things on, other broadcast channels about the staffing concerns. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I think that's, that's what the investigators are going to have to look at here. There's a lot of, pundits out there that are in my words, jumping the gun a little bit. They're talking about things that they don't have the facts to be able to back it up. I'm not talking about anybody specific, but from the lens that I look through, we need to wait, get all the facts, and then make decisions from there. So no idea exactly as far as staffings go. I think it's way too early to draw any conclusions.
Right. And on that same note, obviously everything's ongoing. Do you feel like in this situation, obviously we want to investigate, but is there a larger systemic issue, or is it just something unfortunately went terribly wrong?
Well, we don't know. Again, we don't know the circumstances, what led up to the accident. We have little bits and pieces. As I mentioned before, we're puzzle solvers. We're still gathering all those pieces of the puzzle. We haven't started putting it together. That will come soon, but at this point right now, we're trying to gather all that factual information to be able to use in the analytical portion of the accident investigation.
Do you think passengers can expect delays, or they can expect anything happening this week? Like just here in the very quick aftermath. Is there anything that's different?
I can't really comment on that. I just don't know, to be honest with you. And again, our office, we have obviously people that are going to be helping out, but we're not in the thick of this investigation. This is being run from Washington, D.C., less than a mile from our headquarters. So, we'll have to just wait and see what the investigation uncovers here.
Mm. And I don't want to tread too much into speculation here, but in the past, you've mentioned that there have been those in-airs here in Alaska. Is there anything that you have to speak on from those past experiences in those investigations?
Sure. So, mid-airs can be very complicated. And, to the layperson, you might think it's just, well, the two airplanes ran into each other. That's not the case from our standpoint. The signature trademark of the NTSB is to deliver very in-depth, detailed investigations, and that's what we're going to do here. So basically, one of the elementary things as far as mid-air collisions, we need to know how those two airplanes came together, the convergence. And then what we do by, how did they come together? And then we work backwards from there as far as, were these pilots able to see each other? And I'm talking about the investigations that we had up here, not necessarily this one. Were they able to see each other? We build 3D models, electronic 3D models, and see if there was a doorpost or something in the way. Again, the big question is were they able to see each other? And that's just one part of it.
Mm-hmm. Do colder temperatures affect anything involving circumstances that cause these collisions or the investigation after?
Not in this case, no.
Yeah.
I've personally done a number of mid-air collisions here in Alaska and outside of Alaska as well. The interesting thing is it usually happens in clear, VFR conditions. It's not necessarily low visibility type of an accident. All the ones that I have done have been in VFR conditions. So again, mid-airs are tricky. We have a lot to do on this one, the one that just happened, and they definitely take a certain expertise, there's no doubt.
Right. I guess, is there anything that you think people who maybe don't spend a lot of time thinking about air transportation other than when they're in the airport, is there anything you'd like to note?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the statistical data would suggest that air travel is very safe. It's a little ridiculous to be saying that in light of this accident here, but if you just look at the stats, in the last 20 years, air travel has become very, very safe. Not only general aviation, our numbers are down, but also in the 121 or the scheduled carriers like involved this accident. So from a very personal standpoint, I am confident that we're going to find out what happened here, what went wrong, and apply those changes to keep it from happening again, hopefully.
Right. Yeah, and that was kind of interesting to me, the historical, air travel has become, what you hear most often is it's safer than driving in a car. What reasons are there for that? Is it?
Well, I mean, again, learning from our mistakes, correcting those mistakes. Technology has advanced immensely in the last 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, as far as ADS-B, TCAS, there's a number of things out there electronically and technology-wise that keeps, this segment of the industry very, very safe.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel shocked that this happened, I guess, when you get the news that there was a collision, what comes to mind first when you saw that last night?
Yeah, so I mean, we're a very small agency, 400 employees. That's all modes, rail, highway, and no ifs, ands, or buts. Aviation is the biggest one. If you boil it down to that, there's probably less than 100 people that are in the aviation portion, and 50 investigators like myself and my staff up here. So the point is we always pitch in with that. You know, when there's a large scale accident, there's a bit of a vacuum as far as sending investigators to wherever it is, and that's obviously why we sent our folks down there. So yeah, it was a busy night last night trying to get our folks out and down there. But to answer your question, yeah, it was a shock, no doubt about it. We deal with this all the time, but you know, as I mentioned before, the ripple effect from this accident, you know, reached 3,000 miles even up here, and you know, it's going to probably be around for a while. So,
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.